Hi folks, this is Vicki at patternprincess.com. Today I want to show you a really quick stitch here. This I'm making a cowl and I'm working it flat. I'm going to be joining the edges here. Just weave when I'm done. I'm going to just be weaving the yarn through the stitches and weaving the yarn in, cutting it off, and then I will have a beautiful cowl. And it's going to be one that I'm going to fold over around the neck. So I'm just about done with it, and I'm making it chunky. As you can see here, it's a nice chunky one, and it has a rib stitch. And I'm using 2 skeins of yarn, just 2 skeins of Caron Simply Soft. This is what I have left. And so it'll should be just shy of both skeins being used. I have a couple more rows to go, and that'll just about use this up, and then I'll join it. But I wanted to show you how to do this. And like I said, I'm using the 2 skeins together. So there's the 2 loops on the hook here. And I'm just doing a half double crochet, but I'm doing it in the back loop. When you do a half double crochet in the back loop, let me pull this back out. Let me show you. Here's the top of the stitch, here's the front loop, and then here's the back loop. This, rather than when you normally crochet, oftentimes the pattern will say to go through underneath these 2 top loops, but today we're just going to go through the back one. So we're going to insert our hook kind of in the middle of these 2 loops and then just go through the back one, okay? So I'm going to start each row, I start off with a chain 2, and that gives me the right height for my half double crochet. So here's 1, 2 chains. I yarn over, and of course when I did the chain 2, that counts for this very first stitch right here. So I don't work in that stitch because that chain 2 accounted for my first half double crochet in the row. Some patterns have you do a turning chain of 2 and then you don't work into it. I struggle with that. I feel like my edges get really wonky and I just can't keep it straight. This way, I'm sorry, I'm backing up here. This way I find that I have a really nice straight edge. I know exactly where my last stitch is, and it takes all the guesswork out for me. So this is how I do it. I do the chain 2. That counts as my first half double crochet, okay? So then I don't work in that first stitch, I work in this stitch. So right here, I'm going to work on the back loop. Make sure you put your yarn through both of those, or I should say your hook through both of the pieces of yarn right here, because there is the 2 pieces of yarn right there. Because remember, I'm holding 2 pieces of yarn together to get the nice chunky look. Okay, yarn over, bring it through. I have 3 loops on my hook, and now I yarn over and I bring it through all 3 loops. And that's it. First stitch is done. And then I go through the next. Back loop, yarn over, and then I did my all the way through the 3 loops. Each stitch, I just yarn over, go through the back loop. This is what I do in every single stitch across. It's very nice once you get your first row all done from the chain, when you work from the foundational chain. There really isn't much counting it after that. Once in a while I count just to make sure I'm on the right stitch count. I haven't dropped a stitch or anything, but you just look at your work, make sure it looks okay. So I'm just doing this all the way across, and it's the half double crochet in the back loop. So it's very simple, but it gives me a very nice ribbed stitch, and I love the chunky look. And so you see because I worked in that back loop, here's that little ridge right here that's created. And then this is how the back looks. But when I turn it at the end of each row, that you get it's kind of like a reversible one. You get the ribbed look here as well. So I'm going to end up with a half double crochet right in this last stitch, because this was my top chain of my first chain 2 of the previous row. Right here is my last stitch. So I will have a half double crochet in this back loop yet right here. And then here, right here is my last stitch. And you'll be able to tell because your edges will line up perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to crochet over to this and do that. And then the only thing left to do is a couple more rolls. And then I'm going to bring my ends together and weave my yarn through. Okay, now I've come to the end of my row. And I'm going to do that last back loop, half double crochet, and then you can kind of tell, see if I stopped here, right here, I would have that little edge sticking out. So you can kind of tell, that helps you, give you the clue that you got to do this last stitch right into that top chain of those initial chain 2. And then when I do that, see how it's all of a sudden it's like you have a straight row, and then we just turn our work and we start off with our next row. We do our chain 2. This is a very easy pattern to work. I will have all of the directions on the website, patternprincess.com. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I don't have my yarn hooks home right now. They're actually at my daughter's house. I work on this right now while I'm watching my grandbaby when he's sleeping. And I left them over there. So when I get this to the point where I have to join it, I will bring those home, and I'll get that video so you can see how I'm going to join it, okay? So that should help you. Hi folks, it's Vicki back again. So I finished all of my rows. Now I'm going to join my cowl together. This is looking really nice. It's nice and thick. I don't know if you can see how nice and thick this is. I really am liking it. And it's going to be nice and soft on my neck too. I actually made this in a couple different colors. This one here in like a teal color, and then like a burgundy color. So, and this is all of the yarn I have left. So it uses 2 skeins of yarn quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is this is my last stitch that I just finished here. And I have my yarn on my hook. I'm going to take the other side here. And remember, we have this first stitch right here. So I'm just going to, whoops, gotta get my yarn here, keep a little bit the tension. So I'm going to insert my hook across the way through both loops. And I'm going to just yarn over and bring it through, and bring it through this first one. It's like a slip stitch. Okay, so now this first one is done. So the next stitch, I'm going to insert it in the back loop of the row that I'm coming back on, just like we normally would, because this is going to give you the ribbed look in the finished row. So it's going to be very hard to see where you started and stopped your cowl. And then I'm going to go through the bottom 2 loops of that other side, yarn over, bring it through, and then bring it through all of the loops on the hook. Now I'm just going to keep doing this, go through the back loop, and then go across and go through both loops, yarn over, bring it through. But I'm going to do this all the way across the whole edge of it until I have my cowl joined together. And I'm going to do a little bit more here. So I'm just slip stitching through this back loop and then both bottom loops of the other side. Yarn over and then bring it through all my loops. And whoops, I almost forgot to stick it on the other side. And in just a little bit here, I'll show you how it will look. And then when I get to the other side, what I do is I just bring my yarn through the last loop on the hook, and then to kind of fasten it off, so obviously your stitches don't pull out, and then I weave in my yarn ends. And because you are going to have 2 yarn ends from here, and you'll also have your beginning 2 yarn ends, which I did not weave in yet. There'll be 4 yarn ends to weave in, so I kind of find different spots to weave them all in, just so you don't have a lot of bulk created in those areas. And I'm just, every single stitch, I'm working up the way, and I'm aligning with a stitch on the other side. And it's kind of easy to see. You see that little spot right there? It's just where I'm sticking my hook and going through. I'll do just a couple more, and then I'm going to show you. And then your cowl will be done. This is a really quick project. I've worked actually on this cowl here while my first baby grandson was sleeping, and I made 3 of them in the last week, and I'm just finishing it now here tonight at home. I've been released. Otherwise, I've been kind of watching, helping watch him quite a bit. He's had some health problems, and now he's getting better, which is good. And you'll be surprised, this week he's going to be 3 months old. Okay, one more, and I'm going to show you, I promise, here. Okay, I'm going to bring the yarn through here. So here's where I just slip stitched it. And if I didn't tell you that I just slip stitched it, would you know? Could you tell that? You probably couldn't. And let me show you the other side. Here's the other side. Can you tell where I did it? Right here is where I did it. That's the spot. but look at how nicely that blends in. This is a nice way to join this, and you really cannot see, and it lines up nicely with the ridges. Because you're continuing on, remember, with that pattern that you were working the whole time, you were working in the back loop. So because you're still working in that back loop, it's continuing on with the pattern. You're just slip stitching everything closed now and going through everything. So I hope that you give this pattern a try. It's really a wonderful pattern. It makes a really nice warm cowl. If you're going to go snowmobiling or downhill skiing, ice fishing, let me see, walking in the woods, skating on a pond, whatever you might do for winter sports, or even just being outside in the fall, if you're someone that tends to get cooler quicker, this is a great cowl to just put over your head and you're set to go. And what happens is the top part of it folds down. Of course, if you've seen this, you might have seen the pictures already of the finished product with it folded as you're wearing it. But it can also come up a little bit and cover your mouth if it's really frigid out. But it just creates such a nice little covering for your neck area and helps keep that body heat in. So thank you very much for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and then you'll catch all of the patterns and little tidbits that I'll release as soon as I can always get them out. Sometimes a little bit late, but you'll be notified. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.